He called me by the name I never told anyone, the name I only used online. The first time I saw the comment, it was 2:17 a.m. Rain drummed against my window, soft but relentless, like it was trying to say something I refused to hear. I stared at the glowing screen in the dark, my eyes burning from too many nights spent rewriting the same story. My anonymous blog post, The Boy in the Rain, had barely been up for 2 hours when I saw it. A single comment, no username, just a faint, flickering icon, a ghost symbol. You write like someone who's afraid to be seen. Lyric ghost. My heart stuttered. No one had ever written that before. Most comments were shallow, beautiful story, or so sad. The kind of empty praise that meant nothing. But this felt personal. It felt like someone was staring right through me. For a long moment, I just sat there, motionless, half terrified, half mesmerized. Because it wasn't just what he said. It was how he said it. The phrasing, the rhythm, the quiet melancholy beneath the words. It was exactly like him. Like Kong Minjae. Minjae, the golden boy of the literature department. The one everyone adored and I secretly hated. The one who wrote like he owned pain, like sadness was a luxury he could afford. He never looked at anyone twice, except when he was smirking. I used to think he enjoyed watching people squirm. The way his lips would curl, his eyes glinting like he knew every secret you were trying to hide. He was arrogant, brilliant, and unfortunately, my biggest rival. So why did that comment sound like something he would say? I refreshed the page. Nothing else. No new comments. No username trace. Just lyric ghost. Maybe it's a coincidence, I muttered, though even I didn't believe it. Still, I typed back. And you read like someone who wants to be seen. Then I shut the laptop and told myself to sleep. But sleep didn't come. The next morning, Seoul looked gray and blurred, half wrapped in fog. I grabbed my umbrella and headed to the university. The literature department was small, too small. Every hallway echoed, and every rumor spread like fire. When I stepped into the lecture hall, I could already hear Minjae's laugh. Low, calm, too confident for this early in the morning. He was sitting by the window, sunlight spilling across his face like it belonged there. He didn't need effort to look perfect. He just was. When he saw me, his lips curved. That infuriating half-smile. Minjae, Han Jiwoo. Late again. Me? I'm still early. Minjae, by your standards, maybe. He leaned back, stretching lazily, the movement deliberate. I looked away, pretended to check my notes, but my mind was still stuck on that comment. You write like someone who's afraid to be seen. During the workshop, Professor Kwan assigned us to read our short pieces aloud. Mine was about solitude, about a boy who speaks only through letters he'll never send. When I finished reading, silence filled the room. And then Minjae spoke. Minjae, it's good. Pause. But it feels like you're hiding behind your metaphors. Like you're writing so no one sees you. My breath caught. The exact same words. My palms went cold. Was this a joke? Did he somehow find my blog? No one knew about Ink in the Rain. Not even my closest friend. After class, I tried to ignore him. I packed my things quickly, but of course he followed. He always did. Minjae, you always run after you read. Me. And you always talk too much. Minjae smirks. I just think your words are wasted when you don't let anyone see the person behind them. Me. You think too highly of yourself. Minjae. No, I think too much about you. That stopped me cold. He said it like it meant nothing, but his tone, his eyes, said something else. I turned away before he could see how it hit me. That night, I couldn't stop thinking about it. His voice, his words, the way he said you, quiet, deliberate, almost tender. I sat back down at my desk, opened my laptop, and logged into my blog. A new comment blinked at the top. From Lyric Ghost. You shouldn't let people like him make you doubt your words. My pulse skipped. I typed fast. How do you know about him? 3 dots blinked. Then, because I saw the way you looked at him, I froze. Saw me? When? My dorm room felt suddenly too small, too dark. Was someone watching me? The next day, I caught Minjae staring during class. When our eyes met, he didn't look away. His expression unreadable, not mocking, not smug, just knowing. Later, I confronted him near the campus library. The rain had just stopped, leaving the pavement slick and shining. Me? Why do you keep saying things that sound like you know me? Minjae shrugs, maybe I do. Me, stop playing games. Minjae, what if I'm not? Pause. What if I just see the parts of you you keep trying to erase? There was again that sharp, quiet intensity that made my chest tighten. I wanted to say something cutting. Instead, I said nothing, and he smiled like he'd already won. That night, I opened my inbox again. Another message. You looked lonelier today. My hands trembled. Who are you? I typed. The reply came instantly. Maybe the one person who understands you. A chill ran down my spine. Something about it felt both comforting and wrong. I should have stopped replying, but I didn't. The following days blurred into a strange rhythm. Classes, glances, messages. Every night, Lyric Ghost left a comment. Sometimes gentle, sometimes cutting. Always personal. You pretend to hate him, but you write like someone in love. Does he make you angry? Or does he make you feel alive? You're not as invisible as you think. Each one made my heart twist in ways I couldn't explain. Because they were true. Too true. I started writing differently. Rawer, more honest. Every story became a confession I didn't mean to make. And every time, he responded like he could see through me. Then, one night, I made a mistake. I uploaded a story called The Boy Who Writes My Soul. It wasn't subtle. It was about Minjae, his voice, his smirk, his impossible perfection. The ending was simple. He'll never know. The next morning, that post had one comment. What if he already does? Lyric Ghost. My heart pounded as I reread it. No one else could have known. Unless he was Lyric Ghost. It couldn't be. It shouldn't be. But suddenly everything, the words, the looks, the way he spoke to me, it all fit. I didn't want it to be true. Because if it was, then every private thought I'd written, every secret feeling, he'd already read them. The day after, Minjae didn't come to class. Neither did I. I sat in a cafe near the river, staring at my laptop, waiting for another comment that never came. Just the quiet hum of rain against glass. Then, a message notification. But not from my blog. From my school email. Subject: You left your notebook in the workshop room. Attached a photo. My notebook on a desk. And in the reflection of the window beside it, Minjae's face. Beneath it, one line. You shouldn't write about someone unless you're ready to be read. I rushed back to campus through the rain. By the time I got there, the corridors were nearly empty. I found a notebook exactly where he said it would be, and under it, a folded paper. A single line written in his handwriting. You don't need to hide between your words, Jiwoo. I already know where you're standing. I looked up and there he was, standing by the door, soaked in the dim hallway light, umbrella dripping. Me, quietly, it's you, isn't it? Lyric Ghost. Minjae, you make it sound like a bad thing. Me, you read everything I wrote. Every secret. Minjae, you gave them to the world. I just happened to listen. I swallowed hard. Anger and something else tangling in my throat. Me? You played with me. Minjae, softly no. I found you. For a heartbeat, we just stood there, silence stretching between us like a wound. Then he stepped closer. Close enough that I could smell the rain on his skin, the faint hint of ink and mint. Minjae, you think you hide in your stories. But Jiwoo, every line screams your name. I wanted to move, to push him away, to run, to say stop, but my voice wouldn't come. Because he was right. Because for the first time, someone had read me completely and hadn't looked away. Sometimes the scariest thing isn't being seen. It's being understood. And as the rain fell outside, I realized I wasn't sure if I wanted him to stop. When someone finally reads the parts of you you tried to erase, it doesn't feel like love. It feels like exposure. The rain didn't stop that night. It fell in thin, cold threads against the glass corridor, whispering against the silence between us. Minjae stood there, rainwater running down his jawline, eyes too calm for someone who'd just been accused of stealing someone's soul. And me, I was shaking, not from cold, but from something heavier, something that felt like betrayal and relief colliding. You think you hide in your stories, he said softly. But Jiwoo, every line screams your name. The words hit like a pulse under my skin. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. I wanted to yell. I wanted to tell him he had no right, that what he did was cruel, manipulative, invasive. But all that came out was a whisper. You read everything. He didn't deny it. His silence was worse than a confession. How long? I asked. Since your second post, he said. The one about the boy who wrote in the rain. You used the same imagery in class. I recognized your voice. You said it like it was obvious. Like he'd solve a riddle I never meant to be found. Why? Because you write what I can't say. That stopped me. The arrogance I expected wasn't there. His voice cracked slightly, like something had slipped through the cracks of his perfect composure. He looked tired, almost vulnerable. I should have left, but I didn't. Instead, I asked the one question that kept echoing in my head. So, which one of us is lying? He smiled faintly, almost bitterly. Maybe both. And then he walked away, leaving me in the hollow echo of his truth. I didn't sleep that night. The rain kept whispering on the window pane like a voice repeating his words. You write what I can't say. What did he mean by that? Why did it sound like a confession wrapped in apology? By morning, Seoul was clear again, cold sunlight spilling across the dorm floor. I thought of deleting the blog, deleting everything. But when I opened the page, a new message waited. Silence doesn't make you invisible, Jiwoo. It only makes your words louder. Lyric Ghost. He'd sent it hours ago, probably after he left me in that hallway. My chest tightened. I didn't reply. I couldn't. At class, he wasn't there. Half of me was relieved. The other half was restless. Professor Kwon entered, carrying a stack of assignment sheets. Midterm project announcement, she said, adjusting her glasses. You'll be working in pairs to write a dual narrative short story. The class groaned collectively. My pulse started a race even before she said the next words. Han Jiwoo, Kong Minjae, you'll work together. Of course. Of course, it had to be him. Some cosmic joke or punishment. I could almost hear the universe laughing. After class, I tried to talk to Professor Kwon. Tried to switch partners. She smiled in that patient, terrifying way professors do when they've already decided your fate. Jiwoo, she said, you and Minjae are the department's strongest writers. You'll push each other. Trust me, push each other. Yes, off a cliff, maybe. I found him outside by the courtyard steps, notebook balanced on his knee. When he saw me, that same quiet smile curved his lips. Looks like fate has a sense of humor. This isn't fate, I muttered. It's bad luck. He laughed, the low, warm kind of laugh that made it impossible to stay angry for long. I hated that sound. Relax, he said. It's just a project. Unless you're afraid of what I might write about us. Us? I scoffed. There is no us. Funny. You wrote about us long before I did. My heart stuttered. He looked at me like he could see the words forming in my head before I even spoke them. You think you're unreadable, he said. But you're the most transparent person I've ever met. And then he got up and walked away, leaving that sentence bleeding somewhere inside me. We started working on the story that weekend. Our theme was 2 versions of truth. He insisted on meeting in person, said writing separately would kill the rhythm. So, we met in a small cafe near Hongdae. The kind of place filled with the scent of old books and rain-soaked pavement. He brought his laptop. I brought my notebook. And for an hour, we didn't say a word. Finally, he broke the silence. You write the first half, he said. I'll mirror it. Fine. But I want honesty. I'm always honest. No, he said, leaning forward, eyes sharp. You hide honesty behind metaphors. I want the raw version. I looked at him, at the faint circles under his eyes, the tension in his shoulders. He looked like someone holding a secret too tightly. And what about you? I asked. Will you be honest? I'll try, he said, but you might not like what I write. Hours passed. The cafe grew quieter. The air between us thickened. Not awkward, but charged. Every few minutes, I glance up and catch him watching me, like he was trying to memorize the way I breathe. When we finished, we exchanged drafts. His first line hit me like a confession. I used to hate the boy who wrote too beautifully to mean it. It was about me. Every word, every emotion disguised as fiction. His version of truth was a mirror, one that reflected everything I was too afraid to admit. He wrote to survive himself, and I read him to understand why I couldn't stop. I didn't know whether to scream or thank him. When we parted that night, The streets were wet again. As I walked back to the dorm, a message notification buzzed. Lyric Ghost. Did you read what I wrote? Me. Yes. Lyric Ghost. Did it hurt? Me, a little. Lyric Ghost. Good. Real truth always does. I stared at the screen, fingers hovering over the keyboard. Something inside me broke open, quietly, like paper tearing. Me? You shouldn't write about people you barely know. Lyric Ghost. Maybe I know you too well. Me? Then stop. Lyric Ghost. I can't. The final review day came faster than I expected. We met in the university library, the quiet humming with fluorescent light. He was restless, pacing, tapping his pen, avoiding my gaze. You changed the ending, he said finally. It didn't fit. It didn't fit your version, you mean? It didn't fit either of us. He sighed, then leaned across the table, voice barely above a whisper. You keep editing yourself out of everything, Jiwoo. Even your own story. His tone wasn't angry. It was pleading. You think you're protecting yourself, but all you're doing is erasing proof you were ever here. The words landed hard because they were true, and because hearing them from him made them unbearable. When I didn't respond, he reached across the table and gently turned my notebook around. There, on the margin of my draft, he'd written a single line. Truth bleeds. Don't bandage it with pretty words. I stared at the ink, at the way it bled slightly into the paper, just enough to blur. You really think words can save people? I asked. No, he said, but they can keep them alive long enough to be saved. And for a brief second, I understood why he kept reading me. Not to invade, but to keep me from disappearing. That night, we finished the story. Two narrators, one who lies to protect himself, one who lies to reach the other. Their truths collide, shatter, and leave them both bleeding but alive. It was beautiful and devastating. I logged into my blog one last time, ready to post it anonymously like all the rest. But before I could, a notification blinked. Lyric Ghost. I'm ending it here. Me what? Lyric Ghost. The blog. The stories. All of it. Me why? Lyric Ghost. Because truth hurts too much when it's real. I froze, staring at the screen, heart hammering. He was quitting. He was letting go of the one place where we existed honestly. Me? Don't disappear. Lyric Ghost. Then stop writing me into endings. And just like that, the account vanished. No trace. No ghost. Nothing. For the first time in months, the silence felt unbearable. I closed my laptop and looked out at the city, the neon lights smeared by rain, the blur of people moving on, unaware that somewhere between the lines, someone had disappeared. My reflection stared back, tired eyes, trembling hands. Maybe he was right, I whispered. Maybe words really do bleed. When you read someone too deeply, you stop knowing where they end and you begin. Some people don't say goodbye. They just stop writing, and somehow that hurts more. The night Minjae disappeared, Seoul felt louder than usual. Every sound, the hum of traffic, the clatter of rain against glass, even the faint echo of a saxophone from a nearby bar, felt sharper, closer, as if the city itself was trying to fill the void he left. I sat by the window for hours, watching the lights blur into streaks of silver and gold. My reflection stared back, tired, hollow, half real. It was strange how someone could vanish from everywhere and still feel everywhere. He was gone, the account deleted, the stories erased, but somehow the silence still carried his voice. Days passed like half-written sentences. I went through classes, turned in assignments, smiled when people expected me to, but my mind kept looping back to that final message. Then stopped writing me into endings. I didn't know if it was anger or guilt that kept me awake at night. Maybe both, because deep down, I knew he wasn't talking about fiction anymore. A week later, the results of our joint project were announced. Professor Kwan called it emotionally raw and thematically complex. She said our story blurred the line between fiction and truth, that it felt alive. If only she knew how alive it really was. After class, I lingered behind, staring at the printed copy on her desk, our names side by side. Han Jiwoo, Kong Minjae. It looked wrong now. Incomplete. He's not coming back, is he? I murmured under my breath. Who? Professor Kwan asked. I shook my head. No one. Just someone who used to write. Fuck. That evening, the rain returned, soft, hesitant, like it didn't want to intrude. I walked aimlessly through the campus, umbrella hanging useless at my side, until I reached the old literature building, the same place where everything started. The lights inside were dim, casting long shadows on the floor. And then I heard it, faintly, a piano playing somewhere upstairs. A melody I recognized, because it was the one Minjae used to hum while he wrote. For a second, my heart stopped. The door to the music room was half open. Inside, Minjae sat at the piano, hair damp, sleeves rolled up, eyes fixed on the keys as if afraid to look up. The song was broken, uneven, like he'd forgotten how it ended. I stood there, frozen. Half of me wanted to walk away. The other half couldn't move. Finally, I said the only thing that came to mind. You deleted everything. He stopped playing. The silence that followed was almost deafening. You noticed. Of course I noticed. He sighed and leaned back, eyes closed. I thought it would help. Erase the noise. But it's worse now. Then why did you do it? Because I was tired of writing you when I couldn't have you. The words hit like thunder in a quiet room. I froze. Every sound, every thought gone. He turned then, finally meeting my eyes. They were softer than I remembered, but darker too. Tired, like someone who hadn't slept since the truth began. I kept reading you, he said. Line after line, post after post. I thought if I understood enough of you, I'd stop needing you. But I didn't. It only made it worse. I stepped closer. Slowly. You think deleting everything will fix that? No. But maybe it'll make it hurt less. It doesn't, I said quietly. How would you know? Because I've been trying to erase you too. He looked up, startled. And for the first time, he smiled. Not the sharp, confident kind, but small and real. You're terrible at it. I laughed weakly. Apparently. We sat there for a while. No words, just the low hum of the rain and the faint crackle of a broken fluorescent light. Then, softly, he said, I didn't mean to invade you, Jiwoo. I just wanted to understand why you wrote the way you did. Why your pain sounded like mine. I didn't answer immediately. Because how do you respond to someone who's read every secret you didn't even know you'd written? You didn't invade me, I said finally. You mirrored me. And I hated it. Because you saw things I wasn't ready to see. He exhaled, shaky, like he'd been holding his breath for years. Then what now? He asked. Do we pretend none of this happened? I shook my head. No. We write something new. Together. Only if you promise not to vanish again. He looked down, smiling faintly. I can't promise that. But I can promise to leave an ending this time. In the weeks that followed, we started meeting again. Not as Lyric Ghost and Anonymous Blogger, but as two writers trying to find a voice that belonged to both. Our new story was simpler. No metaphors. No masks. Just two people learning how to speak without hiding behind words. He'd bring coffee. I'd bring my notebook. We'd argue, laugh, edit, rewrite. And sometimes in the quiet between our sentences, I'd catch him looking at me with that unreadable expression again. The one that felt like both question and answer. One evening, as we packed up, he asked, Do you ever regret it? That I found you. I thought for a long time before replying. Sometimes. Because I ruined your peace? Because you made me feel something I can't name. He smiled, a soft, broken thing. Then maybe that's enough. The night before our new story's release, I found a note slipped inside my notebook. It wasn't signed, but I knew his handwriting. Some truths don't need to be written. Some just need to be lived. No username. No message bubble. Just ink and paper, permanent and fragile at once. I didn't see him the next day, or the day after. Rumor was he'd withdrawn for a semester, something about a family matter. But somehow I wasn't surprised. Minjae had always been the kind of person who left quietly. No goodbyes, just the echo of something unfinished. A month later, I received an email from an unknown address. No subject line, just an attachment, a document titled Between the Lines of Us, Final Draft. The first page read, For Jiwoo, the boy who taught me that silence can still speak. And below that, his final paragraph. If words bleed, Then maybe love is the ink that stains us all, proof that we tried, even when it hurt. I didn't cry, but something inside me shifted, gently, like the last page of a book closing on its own. I printed it out, tucked it between the pages of my notebook, and went to the rooftop, the same place where the city always looked like it was breathing. The rain started again, soft and familiar. I closed my eyes and whispered to the wind. You didn't disappear, Minjae. You just became part of the story. And for the first time, that felt like enough. We were never just writer and reader. We were both unfinished drafts, finding the courage to stop editing ourselves out.